Good morning. Today is the 9th day of January and the 16th, 16th day of Tevet. And we are finished with volumes 1 and 2 of Likutei Sichos from the Rebbe, and we're going to, at least today, start looking at a work of art known as the Rebbe's Chumash, put together by our dear friend Rabbi Moshe Vishnevsky. And this is what it looks like. If anybody wants to purchase it online, it's worth purchasing anyway.
Are you getting commissions?
I'm getting no commissions. I had the good fortune to work on some of this, but not. And this is an anthology of all the Rebbe's explanations, interpretations, talks, discourses, essays on the verses of the Torah. And he put it all in a running commentary, and then there's Hasidic insights on the bottom, and inner dimensions also. It took him about 7 years. Okay, so let's start looking at the first thing. I am God. God rebuked Moses for having asked him, "Why have you mistreated this people?" So we're looking at Exodus 6:2. By saying to him,
Read the pasuk in Hebrew.
וידבר אלוקים אל משה ויאמר אליו אני השם. וירא אל אברהם אל יצחק ואל יעקב בקל שקי ושמי הוויה לא נודעתי להם.
This is the end of the session.
This is the beginning of this week's parsha. This is how our parsha starts, Vayera. Oh, we're in Shmos. Ay. I'm already ahead. It's because I'm working on the... Okay, we'll start again. We'll start all over again. Here we go. Exodus 1:1. ואלה שמות בני ישראל הבאים מצרים, הייתי יעקב איש וביתו באו. ראובן, שמעון, לוי ויהודה, יששכר, זבולון ובנימין, דן ונפתלי, גד ואשר. How does he translate this? Even though the Torah enumerated Jacob's sons by name when they came into Egypt, it does so again here when they die in order to indicate how dear they were to God. These are the names of the sons of Israel who came to Egypt. Each man in his household came with Jacob. Reuben, Shimon, Levi, and Judah, Yisachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan, and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher.
So why didn't you just keep them alive if they were so dear to you?
Because the world is the world. And to say he keeps them alive is almost a misnomer. What do you mean he keeps them alive? He keeps him alive. And the many faces of God come and go in this world in the form of many souls that come down into it.
So Binyamin lived for a long time. He went into Gan Eden Chai.
So that's a medrash, right? Okay. As mentioned in the overview, this verse tells us that the Jewish people held on to their Jewish identities despite the temptation to assimilate into Egyptian society. Right? We know that. Our sages say that because they refused to compromise to the host culture on even such an insignificant aspect of Judaism as changing their names, God deemed them worthy of being redeemed. The same applies to the present exile. By holding on tenaciously to our traditions, even down to those that appear to be subordinate, we will hasten our redemption. This idea is alluded to in the verse. The word for sons also means children, and Bnei Yisrael. And the word Israel can be seen as an acronym for the names of the patriarchs and the matriarchs, right? So Yud is Yaakov and Yitzchak, right? Shin is Sarah. Reish is Rivka. Aleph is Avram. And Lamed is Leah, right? So we've gone over all of them. This verse can therefore be interpreted allegorically as follows. These are the names. We can be assured that our children will retain their Jewish identity, names, and be proud of their heritage if, of the children of Israel, we raise them as descendants of our holy patriarchs and matriarchs, even though they came to Egypt, grow up in an environment that is hostile to Jewish values. And when they eventually leave their exile, they will do so with the same Jewish identity, the names they had originally. So that's his very nice explanation of that. But let's go into the more inner dimensions. That's part of a Sikha. Where is it from? Volume 6. We didn't learn that. It's from volume 6, page 243.
So why aren't we done in volume 6?
Because we just did. We just read a synopsis of the entire Sikha.
Why aren't we done in volume 6 and beginning to end?
Because there's no end to it. We'll be doing Likutei Sichos for the next 15 years.
So?
I was hoping we do other things also. No, the real problem with after volume 1 and 2 is that they're long. They're very long, and like I told you, we won't finish one in, at best, an hour and 20 minutes that we have in a week.
So then we have to start earlier.
Yeah, but then it becomes too tedious for everyone else. We have to do something that's good for us and good for the creations around us. Similarly, Similarly, although the Torah has already told us that Jacob's immediate descendants numbered 70, it repeats this fact here in order to contrast their small number at the beginning of their stay in Egypt with their prolific growth while they were there. All of Jacob's descendants then numbered 70 when they came. Now that the tribes are dead, there are many more, including Joseph, who, although he was living in Egypt, was not corrupted by it, and therefore was still a true son of Jacob. The Torah lists Jacob's descendants in two ways, by name and by count. Right? So it both tells us their names and also tells us how many they were. Why? What's the difference between the two? A name reflects an entity's unique identity in contrast to other entities in the same group. This is also Sikha. We actually saw this Sikha. I don't know if you remember. This is from volume 1. Well, here he writes volume 6, but he has the same point in volume 1. In contrast, when we count the entities in a group, we focus on their common denominator. The fact that they are all members of the same group, their individual identities disappear. By both counting the Jewish people and listing them by name, God indicated that He loves them both for each individual's unique personality and for their common Jewish identity, their shared basic Jewish consciousness, what today we would call their collective consciousness. By stating this fact just before the Jews descend into the bitter exile of spiritual and physical servitude, the Torah indicates that God's love for the Jewish people is in no way mitigated by the fact that He sends them into exile. Although hidden, His love for them endures nonetheless. As we will see later, this dichotomy became an issue when Moses was first sent to redeem Israel. So where is this later? This later, he writes, is 3:13. What happened? What happened in 3:13? ויאמר משה אל אלוקים, הנה אנוכי בא אל בני ישראל ואמרתי להם, אלוקי אבותיכם שלחני עליכם, ואמרו לי מה שמו, מה אומר עליהם? Moses said to God, I am going to come to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your forefathers has sent me to you. When they hear this, they will ask me, what is His name? Meaning, what kind of God is it that allows the children of these forefathers, whom He loved so dearly, to suffer in such a terrible exile for so long? Why does He remember us only now that we have suffered so much, and thousands upon thousands of our children have been slaughtered? When they ask me this, what shall I tell them? ויאמר אלוקים אל משה, אהיה אשר אהיה, ויאמר כה תאמר לבני ישראל, אהיה שלחני עליכם. God said to Moses, listen to his translation, tell them that I was and shall continue to be with them in this exile, just as I shall be with them in later exiles. I do not ignore them during their exiles, but in fact I feel their suffering and suffer with them. Moses said, it is enough that they have to suffer their present exile. Why should I mention their future exiles? God then said, this is exactly what I meant. Although I am telling you that I will suffer with them in their future exiles, you shall say to the Israelites, only that God, who says I shall be with them in this exile, sent me to you. God further said to Moses, and if they ask, if God feels our suffering, why did He allow it to continue? So shall you say to the Israelites, God, the God of mercy, the God of your forefathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you. The exile and all its suffering was in fact an act of my mercy. The fact that this was not apparent was simply because my attribute of mercy, although operative, is hidden in exile, and indeed in this world in general. Therefore, although God, indicating my attribute of mercy, Havayah, is my proper name at all times, its pronunciation is to be concealed. That's how he explains, ויאמר עוד אלוקים אל משה, כה תאמר בני ישראל, הוויה אלוקי אבותיכם, אלוקי אברהם, אלוקי יצחק ואלוקי יעקב שלחני אליכם, זה שמי לעולם וזה זכרי לדור ודור. This is my name at all times. But v'zeh zichri, how I am mentioned, right? My name continues to be Havayah, but you know me by different names. From the general populace until the final redemption, it's to be concealed. Nonetheless, even now, it is possible to call forth my mercy from its concealment, but not directly by pronouncing the mercy name as it is written, Yud Kei Vav Kei, right? The four-letter name. Instead, this is how I am to be recalled for all generations until the final redemption. They should They should substitute the name Adni, my Lord, for my proper name. They can elicit my mercy by pronouncing the mercy name as if it were the name of lordship, acknowledging that I run the world and have my own, sometimes inscrutable reasons for running the world the way I choose. Where did he get all this? He got this from Rashi. Right? Because what does Rashi says? Yeah. Zeh Shmi Le'olam. Yeah, he translated all of Rashi and he interpolated it into the running commentary. So it's built into the commentary. But you have to know that that's what Rashi says, and it's how... No, he doesn't have a separate translation of Rashi. That's what's amazing about it. That the Rashi is built into the translation. So what we just said is what Rashi says. Where does Rashi says this? He says, Zeh Shmi Le'olam, chaser vav. Why does he say Le'olam chaser vav? Le'olam would be forever. But Rashi says it's missing the vav. Le'olam would be written lamed ayin vav lamed mem. But here it's written lamed ayin lamed mem. Lomar ha'alimeu shelo yikare kichtavo. That's where you got the idea that its pronunciation is to be concealed. That's how Rashi understands it. That the le'olam is without a vav, so it also means to conceal. So zeh shmi le'olam, this name shall be concealed. That's how you need to read it. This is my, the regular translation would be, this is my name forever. Meaning at all times, not forever really. It's talking about at all times. I'm always merciful, right? But you have to conceal that. You can't pronounce this name, Yud Kei Vav Kei. That's why we don't pronounce it. Because it says here not to. V'zeh zichri limdo he'ach nikra. And when he says, this is my recollection, this is how I am to be recalled in all generations, it's my other name. What's my other name? My other name is Aleph Daled Nun Yud. Limdo he'ach nikra. He taught him the Aleph Daled Nun Yud. He taught him the other four-letter name, which is I am the Lord. And the Lord means I have sovereignty over the entire world. So understand that even in times of trouble, I am the one running everything that you're seeing. There's nothing here that is happening by itself. So though you can't beseech the name of mercy directly, you understand it indirectly. That everything that God is doing, He's doing out of mercy. V'chen David omer Hashem shimcha le'olam, Havayah zichrecha ledor vador. Okay. So did you understand this from reading this Rashi every year? That's what he's telling you? It's pretty amazing, no? Yeah, Moshe spent a lot of time thinking about this stuff.
You did it by yourself or the group?
Most of the work he did by himself.
Seems like it would take him 20 years, never months.
No, he did it pretty, maybe 10 years. It took him 2 years, I think, for each Chumash.
This is replacing the good in Chumash?
What Chaim Miller did is something completely different. He took, he knows Likutei Sichos, he knows a lot of the Rebbe. He took the highlights, whatever he thought was interesting, but he didn't try to translate. He doesn't do a translation like this. Chaim Miller wrote the Gutnik Chumash. No, not related. He's a nice guy from England. He became a Lubavitcher. He was actually in med school before he decided to take a different path in life. I think he's very happy with what he did. Crown Heights. Let's read just one more thing from here. This is how I am to be recalled for all generations. Now the Hasidic insights. In other words, we can elicit God's revealed mercy if we ask for it while fully cognizant of the fact that He is already acting mercifully with us. But our limited perspective does not allow us to recognize this. We accept Him as our Lord, as having His inscrutable reasons for allowing us to suffer, and seeing our condition in the full context of his omniscience. If we acknowledge this, we can then turn to him and ask him to nonetheless behave towards us with revealed, self-evident mercy. In the Messianic future, when God's mercy will indeed be fully revealed on earth, we will no longer need to acknowledge that God's mercy is operative, even if we cannot perceive it. We will pronounce his proper name, the four-letter tetragrammaton, Havayah, the mercy name, as it is written. And this is all from Likutei Sichos, volume 26, pages 19 to 25. So that's a sikha that deals with this whole issue.
We put in the footnotes. He put in the footnotes as well.
Yeah, of course. They're not always right, by the way. The footnotes, he had some... On a deeper level, God told Moses here that it is possible to refine and elevate the world, that the world is not just something to be shunned in order to focus on philosophical and spiritual pursuits. When God informed Moses that through the Torah and its commandments it would be possible to raise the divine consciousness of the world, he won him over. And Moses agreed in principle to forego his isolation and to redeem the Jews. That's a great thing also. That's from the Rayats, from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. That Moshe Rabbeinu was a hermit. He was living in the desert. He wasn't interested in anything because he didn't see what's the path to change the world. He had seen all this suffering in Egypt and he ran away from it, basically. He tried to fix it. He saw that one man can't fix it. One man can't fix it. But one man with God can. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu had a revelation of here at the burning bush, basically. This is the revelation of the burning bush. Part of the revelation. There's a lot more there. But that was the great revelation that he had. Now you have to think about this. Today you say something like that to someone, okay, they don't think about it all day long, but they've heard it before. But nobody had heard of anything like this 3,300 years ago. Nobody had an inkling that this was even possible. And then he went ahead and he performed the greatest act of salvation ever in recorded history, of taking all the slaves out of Egypt. And you see that he was a universalist, because he didn't just take the Jewish people out. He took everyone. Anybody was willing to come. Later he paid for it. But that was the depth of his, like he says, that's what won him over. That's how the Rebbe Rayatz explains it. That he was looking for something that would be a good and worthy task for life. A man of his abilities needed something that was of his stature. Okay.
I got folks talking. The other part of the friends. You know, right?
Yeah.
The phrase in Hebrew is the Rosh Tevis of the Malach that goes with you when you go on the journey.
Oh yeah? לעולם ייפרד אדם מחברו בדבר הלכה.
So, you know, the name of the Malach is with Sunnah Rosh Tevis. Can you make a name from that? So that means that when you get to America, you say Tfilis Hadek before you go, and every day you're in Israel, you say Tfilis Hadek without the name of Hashem.
One of the things that's there is Elokim. It's Elokim. There's Elokim in it, but there's also a bet. So it's Be Elokim. Maybe.
Oh, safely come back.
Oh man. See you in 2 weeks.